Hi everybody else in 626. This is David Swire. Really hoping y'all are all having a really good semester and everything's going great for y'all. Hope y'all didn't stress nearly as much as I did over this project because, as you can probably tell already, I really hate sitting in front of a camera and seeing myself on a screen. And just to let you know, I will be looking off screen periodically to look at my notes over here, so be prepared for that. My group with Rachel, we decided to do touch and pain between cultures, which, is a very universal thing. Everybody, in some way or another, encounters pain in their life for a multitude of reasons. And I guess our point was to see if maybe ethnicity, cultural standards, nationality had anything to do with how people perceive that pain. So let's just go right into my study. My study was named The Ethnic Differences in Pain Tolerance, Clinical Implications in Chronic Pain Population. This is written by Dr. Edwards, Doyley, Fillington, and Lowry. The purpose of this study was to find the differences in pain tolerance across ethnicities. Now, I'm emphasizing the term ethnicities only because nationality-wise, every subject in this test was an American. And as far as their race, it was just whites and African Americans. So it's really hard to draw the line between ethnic groups as an American, just being as every family has their own culture. Whether you start here, you go 4 roads down, knock on somebody else's door, they're going to have a different culture from you. But to do the measures of their study, they used a total of 8 different tests, which I think kind of lends to the reliability of this entire research article. They used both qualitative and quantitative data to back up their findings and combined all of these 8 measures that I'm about to describe to you to come to their findings, which, the more data, the better. We're all in ABA, and we all know there's no such thing as too much data. So, firstly, they used a multi-dimensional pain inventory. Now, really, this was just a self-reporting impact on the pain that the person felt in their life, in their day-to-day life. Next, they used what was called the Beck Depression Inventory, which assessed common symptoms of depression. Now, that may sound weird for a pain tolerance study, but I'll get back to why they use that after I finish describing the rest of these. They also used the Oswestry Disability Questionnaire, which just talks about daily life activities like getting out of your car, getting out of a chair, reaching at the top of a cabinet to get something that's hard to reach, and just ask you how much of that is affected by pain in your day-to-day life. Next, they used the McGill Pain Questionnaire, another questionnaire that you basically just rank your pain. Next was the State Trait Anxiety Inventory, which evaluates the levels of anxieties of the participants. This one kind of goes with the Beck Depression Inventory to kind of say, well, if we're studying pain, why do we really need to know about if they're depressed, if they have anxiety? And we'll talk about that. Next was just a general pain rating scale, meaning it's a 0 to 10, how are you feeling? It's a complete self-report. Now, for most of these can be viewed as a qualitative type of data, just being a lot of this is self-reliant on them reporting what they feel, which isn't always the best way to get accurate data. But they did include 2 other things that were the 100-yard walking test and the ischemic pain tolerance test, which are both experimental behavioral assessments of pain, which as applied behavior analysis majors, it's wonderful to see people using a behavioral approach to assess this. Now back to why the anxiety and the depression inventories are so important. They use these to just make sure that, out of this population, you don't want your results to be skewed because you find out that half your participants from the African American group are depressed, or half your participants from the white group have high anxiety levels, because that may skew the results for how they feel about pain, or how they feel about how much pain they're feeling in their life, if that makes sense. The conclusion of the study was that African Americans report higher amounts of severe pain than do whites. Now, obviously, this is a very bold statement to make, and so the authors, knowing that, listed several limitations to their study, one of which being their participant pool. The participant pool included 269 whites, but only 68 African Americans, which, from an experimental design standpoint, especially if you know anything about averages, drawing conclusions from those types of numbers is going to be difficult to remain reliable. Other problems was just, we live in America. Culture is very different. It's hard to boil down what makes African American culture African American and what makes white culture white. There are many different ethnic groups under these racial categorizations, and it's just impossible, especially with the study that had under 400 participants, to try to generalize these findings into an entire study that would say for definite, this is how African Americans react to pain, whereas this is how whites react to pain. Now, I think design-wise, their study was very good. I feel like it could have been better with a few alterations to their participant pools and maybe some more inclusion of variables such as maybe gender that would also maybe indicate more correlation between genders, between cultures, and pain relevance. But all in all, I think the only way this affected my schema is I love to think of myself as colorblind, but we do have to remember that race, in and of its definition, means that there is a genetic difference somewhere there. And maybe these genetic differences are big enough that we should be considering them whenever we create treatments and interventions for our patients. Well, I kind of went over the 5-minute mark, but I really hope that y'all got everything y'all needed from this. This was very terrifying for me to make, and good luck to the rest of y'all all. Thank you.